The kids are finally asleep.
This is the Rogue Podcast.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Morgan.
We live together.
Work together.
And raise 4 kids together.
She found her first 2 gray hairs yesterday.
Ouch. And she snores like a freight train.
All right.
It's fine.
It took a minute, but I got there.
Yep.
Well, clearly, we can call each other on our shit and be a bit of assholes. So this week, we thought it'd be fun to look up some Am I the Asshole stories?
React and give our opinions, because we love to do that.
We sure do, and we want you to give yours too, so put them down in the comments. Becca, you start.
Okay. Mine aren't as long as Morgan's, so... let's start with a good one.
Full disclosure, we don't know what the other one's chosen. But we had to save hers on mine on her phone.
I also feel like I tried really hard to get ones that I knew you would have a strong reaction to. So we're going to start with one of the big ones.
Okay.
Also, some of these are going to discuss some things that are probably going to piss some people off. And frankly, I don't care. Am I the asshole for excluding my obese friend from rock climbing? There's this new rock climbing center that just opened up at the mall. My 17 female group of 8 friends were in town when I suggested we go try it out. However, when we got there, one of my friends was pulled aside by an employee and told to weigh herself. She's technically obese, which, let's be honest, isn't that big anymore, but it's fine.
Yep.
And they told her that she couldn't participate since she weighed too much for the harness. She was extremely upset by this and started crying. She then asked the rest of us if we could go do something else instead. However, everyone else really wanted to try rock climbing, and we didn't want to miss out because of one person. I said we could hang out with her after we finished, but she just went straight home. The next day, she texted us saying that we were fake friends for abandoning her and making her feel excluded for her weight. She said I was selfish for even suggesting rock climbing without considering her weight because I'd assumed that she weighed enough for the equipment. I told her that it wasn't our fault that she wasn't allowed in, and she said the rest of us should have stood by her. Am I the asshole?
I have actually mixed feelings on this.
Okay.
The first part being they're teenagers. Mm-hmm. So I want to keep that in mind.
Yep.
The fact that she didn't consider it, I think, lives in that zone.
I also, as somebody who is heavier set, why weren't you considering it?
She said she was heavier set?
No.
The person who thinks
away.
that she's the guest. I see.
You could have brought that up beforehand.
Potentially. I think if no one thought of it and you get to that moment, I don't know what I would have done in the search. It's a question mark for me because...
I know what you would have done. You would have left with them.
I would have left with them. For sure I would have. And then I would have gone back with those other friends another time. Mm-hmm. And we would have found something else to do together as a group.
Which I think is probably what should have happened. They all should have left, gone and done something else, and then they could have come back at a later date. But I also get the vibe, and also, we don't know these people.
Right.
There is on some platforms where you read these, they come back and say other things. This one didn't have anything else said. Mm-hmm. So is she one of those friends who would have also been mad in a couple of weeks when you went back with that group without her? You know what I mean?
Right. Because they're so young, I immediately think of something that happened to me as a teenager that I thought about for the rest of my life. And she may have thought about it for a while, but if they had all left and gone and done something fun, it could have been a memory replaced to a certain degree, and then she wouldn't have thought about it. She's probably going to think about that for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily somebody else's job to think about what trauma you're causing someone else, except that if they're your friend, it kind of is.
Right. I also just don't think in the when she said that she was upset that I didn't think of that. I don't know if that was her responsibility to think of that.
I don't think again, they're so young.
That probably didn't even cross her mind.
No, especially if she's someone who's never run into that. This is a hard one for me. I know what I would have done. I don't know if she's necessarily a terrible, awful asshole, but you could have handled it better.
A little bit better.
You could have been a better friend. You're not necessarily an asshole, but you're not a great friend.
Okay, we're going to have a little side note here. Tyler bought apple juice a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Took the first glass of it. Was like, God, this tastes awful. Made Morgan try it. Was like, God, this is awful.
It's like, that's nasty
and
apple juice.
I just got the alert that it was recalled for having arsenic in it. So
Why not text him? Tell him to throw that apple juice
That's
away.
why I laughed, because he answered me and went, that's why it tasted bad.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I don't think...
It was god awful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, now you know why.
Yep.
Arsenic doesn't taste good, apparently. I don't think she's an asshole for the reason she's writing in. I think she could have been a better friend.
Yep. Okay. I have very strong opinions about this one, which may not be popular.
Okay.
I need you to pay attention to the age of the people.
Okay.
Okay? Am I the asshole for hooking up with a married woman and causing her divorce?
Okay.
I, 21 male, have been hooking up with a woman, 32 female, for about 6 months. It started as something casual. We met through a mutual friend at a party, hit it off, and things escalated from there. I knew she was married, but she told me she was in an unhappy marriage and was planning to leave her husband. She made it sound like the divorce was already a done deal, so I didn't feel too guilty about it.
Don't they always?
We continued seeing each other, mostly late at night or during the time she said her husband was out of town. I'll admit, it was exciting at first. I was young, she was older, and it felt like something out of a movie. But things started getting serious when she began texting me constantly and wanting to spend more time together. She would vent about how terrible her husband was and how she couldn't wait to be free from him. A few weeks ago, her husband found out about us. He was devastated and immediately filed for divorce. She called me in tears, blaming me for everything. She said that if it weren't for me, her husband wouldn't have left her, and that now she has nowhere to go and nothing to her name. She even suggested that I should take responsibility and help her out since I ruined her life. She has 2 kids, a 10-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. She claims that her husband is going to fight for full custody and that it's all my fault that her kids might end up living with him instead of her. She says that because of me, her life is falling apart and her children might grow up without their mother around. I feel bad about the situation, but I also think it's unfair for her to put all the blame on me. I never forced her to cheat, and I wasn't the one who filed for divorce. I'm also not in a position to support her financially or emotionally. I'm still trying to figure out my own life. So, am I the asshole for hooking up with a married woman and causing her divorce?
No. And yes. Obviously, she is more to blame than he is. Not only is she older, she's also the one who's married. But he knew she was married. And I feel like you always have those scenarios where the married individual is like, it's over. It's been over. We're done.
And when you're literally a senior in college age.
So no, I don't think he is the asshole. She is probably more so the asshole. And especially in how she's handling it. She's an asshole who
cheated on her husband, didn't mature, is blaming it on basically a child, in my opinion. I think she's gross.
Lied.
Yeah. I think he got caught up in a terrible whirlwind thing that it can happen to people. But all of that was her responsibility.
Yeah.
I think it's terrible.
Ever want to just like write off the person who is involved with the married individual, especially if they know they're married. Because like, you're still doing something you shouldn't be doing. But
I think in this case, because if he had been a 31-year-old and she had been a 32-year-old, can you imagine?
Feels like a little bit.
You're 31. Can you imagine going down to UMaine?
No.
Scouting for someone to cheat on your husband with?
No.
That's psychotic.
No. And it also said that they met through mutual friends.
Yeah.
Who do you have that's a mutual friend? You know who I have, who I hang out with? Who's
at a party.
Under the age of 20? No one. That's weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird. She was obviously looking for something. If she was at a party that...
Yeah, and it was obvious, it's very clear that their marriage was in fact not over. If he was that upset and she was that upset.
I was like, I immediately assumed it was going to be on him. And I don't think so.
It's good that they put ages.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll take a 10 here. Am I the asshole for hiding an emergency fund from my spouse? When first married, I sold some personal things and put the money in emergency fund. Roof leak, job loss, emergency revisit, whatever may happen. My goal was to be able to survive a large unexpected expense or a few months of no income without going under financially because of it. For context, I had items of value I could sell, obviously, but very little cash available, and she had virtually no cash available. We had plans to make enough to support ourselves with a little over the bare necessities, rent, food, utilities, etc., but not by much. I didn't tell my spouse about doing it, partly because I didn't want her to feel bad I had sold things that, while not critical, I wanted. Partly because I didn't want her to be considering it when making financial decisions, since it was supposed to be an emergency-only fund, and I could see rebuying the items if we ever became financially stable and could create an emergency fund on our own later. Partly because it never touched our joint income or expenses, normal accounts, and for all intents and purposes would not impact our shared finances if not used. Am I the asshole for not telling my spouse I created and didn't disclose an emergency fund with my own personal items?
I feel like not the asshole.
So
What's the general consensus? Do you have, or did you like read the comments?
I didn't, because I didn't want it to sway my opinion. So I have a little bit of personal experience with this. When Tyler and I first got married, I was in the hospital in Hawaii for about 3 months. Freshly married. We got married so quickly, I don't even know if finances was ever a conversation. I got out of the hospital and we went to go try and buy me a vehicle because I didn't have one in Hawaii and he did, and he worked all the time. We got to a dealership, we picked out a car, and the guy asked if we could put any money down. And I was like, maybe a little bit, like $1,000 or something. I'm not like 1,000% sure. And Tyler's like, we could put like 5 to 7. And I had no idea this money existed. I feel like a little bit of a different circumstance because he was like putting it away because obviously we weren't buying all that many groceries. I was in a hospital and like he was in said hospital with me when not at work. So we weren't doing much at home. But
and you have military health insurance, so you knew that you were taken care of as far as that's concerned.
We didn't have to pay hospital bills. All of my meals were obviously covered, and whenever Tyler was there, he got food. Not great food, but he got some. I was so offended when it first happened. 10 years later, it's like a blip in our marriage. We mention it every once in a while. I was also very young. They don't say ages in here, but we were 21. So what didn't offend me at that point? Now that I'm older, I don't know why I was so offended, but it was almost like a trust thing. Like he didn't trust me enough to tell me. So I get, if she were to find out about this secret emergency fund, I can see where her emotions would get the better of her. But also, like, good on you, man.
Yeah.
You had the wherewithal to do it. So, like...
So my thoughts on this are a couple of things. One, had you had a frank discussion about finances before you got married? Because if so, and this was technically a lie, then I would change my opinion. But my thought is, if your income was all accounted for, all of the bills were accounted for, etc., you sold your own personal items, and it was a fund that was supposed to help both of you. I don't think that's an asshole thing. I would understand someone being like, at first, but then I would be like, I wish I had known about that. But like at the same time, maybe I'm not, because sometimes people can be impulsive. Also, how is she with money?
Yeah.
Would she, because we do that sometimes, we'll factor in stuff that we shouldn't factor in because we know we can fix it later, and it's worked out for us, but sometimes it doesn't for people. I
think in this scenario, it sounds to me like they had the conversation, they both realized they had no money, and he panicked. If that's the case, I think that's a little bit better. If it is more so, he knew he was about to build a new life as a married adult, he sold these things, then they had a conversation, and he negated to say anything about it. That's a little
questionable.
ickier to me.
Some of these, it's like you need more details.
Yeah. But I can see both sides of it. Mm-hmm. I also agree with the fact that it was to help them both out. So, like, he's not saying he has that money in there so he can go to Vegas with his buddies in 6 months.
Right.
And he doesn't want to tell her about it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I had to include that one because Tyler did it to me.
I feel like you're going to have a strong opinion about this one. We'll see. Am I the asshole for spending money my grandparents gave me instead of saving it toward my stepbrother's treatment fund? My mom got married to Alan 2 years ago. I, 15 female, was 13 at the time, and Alan's 2 kids were Emma, 9, and Noah, 3 months. Oh, male. Not 3 months. 3 male. Noah was diagnosed with cancer last year, and my mom and her husband were told there's some kind of different treatment he could get in another country, and if they could raise the money, it would be better for Noah than the treatments available in the US. My mom and Alan could not afford it, so they have been sending him to treatment here and saving for Noah's treatment there. They made a lot of cutbacks and asked that Emma and I give over any money we get so they can afford this. They have about 70% or something now, and that has come from cutting out a lot. We eat very basic meals, they canceled our internet, and we don't do anything for our birthdays or Christmas since this saving started. Any money that comes into the house goes on essentials or the treatment fund. My dad died 9 years ago, and my paternal family stayed part of my life. They know what has been going on, and they have been buying me little treats and taking me out to eat when they can. They also give me money every couple of weeks so I can have something if I ever need it. I have been hiding that money because I know I would be told to give it up. I carry it everywhere because Emma is the type to snoop and then tell her dad. She's asked me before why I don't babysit to help make more money for her brother. She would work if she could, but she's only 11. I spent some of the money from my grandparents over the weekend. I got my hair cut and I bought my best friend a gift for her birthday. I also got some food and spent some time at my dad's grave. My mom noticed my haircut and asked where the money came from, and she realized I was lying when I said I had been with my grandparents and they took me because I forgot they were out of town. So I told her they gave me some money to get some stuff done. She told me a haircut was not a need, and how selfish could I be? Alan heard her scolding me, and he jumped in and asked what the hell was wrong with me. He told me this family has to pull together for Noah, and I'm acting like I don't care whether Noah gets his treatment or not. Of course, by the end of the day, Emma heard and freaked out. Then my mom ran into my best friend's mom a couple days ago, and she told my mom my gift to my best friend was so sweet and thoughtful. I was sat down and yelled at for spending the money on not just me, but on others. Alan asked me how I could give the money for a gift that means nothing when it could have gone to save my brother's life. I yelled back that it's not my job to pay for Noah's treatment, and I'm already sacrificing, but I refuse to go all the way they want me to. I told them the money came from my family who has nothing to do with them, and they need to let it go. Alan called me a selfish little bitch, and he told me I should be ashamed of my repulsive behavior. Now Emma keeps telling me I'm a bad person.
One comment, girl, get emancipated and move the fuck out.
Move in with your grandparents, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel so strongly about this one.
Not your real brother. Not that that matters.
You've known this kid for 2 years.
You're already sacrificing. You're 15. Get emancipated.
Can't even get a haircut.
Yeah, no. Goodbye. Your mom's the asshole.
Your mom's the asshole. Your stepdad is terrified.
Yeah, so your stepdad, I can see even a little bit more.
We shouldn't be calling 15-year-olds repulsive or
name calling,
selfish
obviously.
Little bitch. However,
but it is his child who is potentially like not
gonna make it, and at this point he's 5 years old.
Yes.
Terrifying.
Your mom is the asshole.
Yeah.
Get emancipated and move out.
Yeah. Immediately, because your childhood is almost over, and no matter what you do, if you're going to spend the rest of it just pretending or acting, you're never going to get a healthy environment again. It's always going to be about this kid, and that's not his fault.
No.
And it's not his 9-year-old or 11-year-old. She was 9 when they met, 11 now. 11-year-old sister's fault that she's also terrified her brother's going to die. But everyone's going to treat you like shit for the rest of this.
Yep.
It's not going to be a healthy, loving environment.
All right. Am I the asshole for asking my roommate to not have sex late at night? I recently moved into a shared house. Everyone is nice and I like where I live. However, recently, one of the housemates has started seeing somebody. I'm obviously very happy for them, and they keep having sex while I'm trying to sleep around 11 p.m. midnight. At night, obviously. Mm-hmm. It's not extremely loud, but because the walls are so thin, I can hear too much. I am happy for them to do whatever they want as long as I can have a good night's rest, but I am getting annoyed that there are nights I can't sleep in peace. Please let me know what you think. Am I the asshole for asking my roommate to not have sex late at night?
I don't think you're the asshole at all. You're living in a shared space, and if it's genuinely affecting your life, first of all, having this conversation is going to be god-awful terrible. Like uncomfy wise, especially since you just moved in.
Yeah.
But you do live there and you are entitled to sleep, and you're not saying never have sex again. You're just like, can you like maybe just do it at 9 p.m.? That'd be great.
I think this is the case with any circumstance. I feel like especially people in college and or right after partying, you are allowed to ask your roommates to not party on a Monday night. Mm-hmm. And I think that ends up being a lot of burnout in college because people don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation and they just like live with it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, even probably sex. I don't know how dorms are now. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tough conversation, but like buck up and have it.
And it doesn't make you an asshole at all. And to be honest, this person might be like,
yeah, they might not even realize.
You can what? You can hear what?
I don't know how they wouldn't realize, but
I mean, it's fine. You never know. I don't think you're an asshole.
No. Am I the asshole for not considering my friend's celiac disease when making dessert? So me and my friends had a dinner party, and as per usual, the people who are not hosting bring drinks and dessert. And I brought a dessert. I decided to bake an apple pie because everyone likes mine, and it's quite good. Toot toot. One of the people attending has celiac disease, but I chose to make the pie normally because it was double the work to have to go through thoroughly clean everything once or twice. The ingredients with no lactose and gluten were a lot more expensive, and the dough would not come out as well or as tasty if I used a bunch of replacements. Baking is very ingredient sensitive, obviously. Be that as it may, when I arrived, I explicitly told her that the pie was not made in any special way, so I advised her to not eat it. She made a big deal out of it, called me an idiot, and said that I could have at least made the effort, but I don't see why I had to since it wasn't even her dinner party. Am I the asshole for not considering my friend's celiac disease?
I think you're the asshole. You're going to a dinner party that you know she's going to be at. Make an apple pie a different fucking time.
Oh, I completely disagree.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I don't. I know, like, if my mom's like definitely allergic to walnuts. If she's going to a dinner party with people who know her, no one's going to bring brownie with walnuts in it and just be like, no dessert for you, Carmen. You could have made something else.
Yeah, she could have also brought her own dessert.
I guess.
Because you know what I'm not going to eat? Is a gluten-free, dairy-free apple crisp. So are you going to make dessert just for that one person?
I don't know.
No, I completely disagree. I think she's not the asshole. And also, multiple people were bringing dessert, so the bitch could have brought her own dessert. Yeah, no, I don't know. I would, in fact, not make a celiac apple crisp for somebody else. Pie, whatever she made.
All right.
Yep. Oh, it's your turn.
Am I the asshole for considering leaving my wife because she didn't have sex with me for years when I was depressed and now I'm back to normal? My wife, 34 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 9 years, together for 14, and we have 2 children. Long story short, prior to this year, I was depressed. This period lasted for almost 3 years and was a culmination of various things. My best friend died, work stress, life in general. During this time period, I did not have sex with my wife even once.
They don't tell us how long, though?
3 years.
Oh, 3 years. I missed that.
My libido had drastically decreased, but whenever I did initiate, my wife said she wasn't in the mood and wasn't feeling attracted to me. That really hurt me and was also probably another one of the causes of my depression. However, starting this year, I made a resolution to improve my life outlook, doing whatever necessary, and at least fake it until I make it. I started going out more, going back to the gym again. I was a gym addict before I was depressed, and had a more positive outlook on life. It's been almost 9 months now, and I can say I'm the fittest I've ever been because I really slog it out at the gym and take out all my frustration there. I'm also generally much happier and have a very active life. My sex life has also drastically improved, and we have sex frequently. However, that is the only thing that really bothers me. While the sex is great, I don't feel any emotion or love for my wife. I still feel very hurt that my wife rejected me for years and told me that many times she was not attracted to me. How would I be the asshole for considering leaving her now that I have my life in order? I don't think my wife stuck with me at my lowest, and that has severely impacted my love for her.
I think we're going to have different opinions about this.
Okay.
Okay, so I had one opinion until she stated that she wasn't attracted to him. Mm-hmm. First of all, props for at least saying it, because it's not always the case. He's the one who said he had a decreased libido and that he didn't want to, I don't think he should just expect her to want to because he does. Like, you can't not want to do it and then the moment you do, be mad because she doesn't. I don't know. This is an odd one to me.
I don't have a strong opinion about it.
I think leaving her is extreme.
If you don't feel love for her anymore,
yeah,
like maybe try some counseling so you can express yourself, to say like, I went through a really hard period for 3 straight years and it felt like you didn't support me, didn't love me, or feel attracted. Like, I felt really left out to the wind.
But was that really her fault, or was that just because you were depressed?
Because
you can't, this is also another one that I think we need more information, because you can't go around saying that she didn't support you because she didn't fuck you.
Yeah.
So, was there other things that she wasn't supporting you in, or was it just because she wasn't having sex with you?
Yeah. Like, did you turn into roommates who didn't really care for each other that much, and now, like, all of a sudden you're attractive again, and she's like, oh, woo.
Right. And, like, you can't, I think saying that I think losing all of your love and emotion for somebody because you had a rough sex period.
3 years is a long fucking time, though.
Yeah, but I just don't think that's on her.
If you're not in love with her anymore, you're not in love with her anymore, and like one thing leads to another, whether or not it's anyone's technical fault, I guess.
He's playing the blame game.
Yeah, it's easy to do because like at the end of the day, he like realized he was responsible for creating his own happiness, and he did it. Good for him.
I think it sounds to me like he wants to leave and he wants it to be her fault.
Maybe.
So it's her fault because she didn't have sex with him while he was depressed, apparently.
3 years of a whole marriage, though, I would lose my living mind.
You and I are going to feel strongly about this one. Am I the asshole for laughing at the name my sister picked for my niece?
I can't wait to tell a story about this.
For context, I, 28 female, attended a family dinner with my mom, dad, and sister, 26 female, yesterday. My sister is due to give birth soon and decided this dinner would be the perfect time to announce the name she chose for her first child. My sister has always been obsessed with aesthetics. Her whole house is beige and rather depressing, if I'm honest. The whole nursery she built for the baby is beige and gray and she will not accept colorful gifts for the baby from anyone. I can tell her husband hates it, but he won't admit it. Now here is the issue. I am very prone to laughing at inappropriate times. I am slightly autistic and find it hard to filter what I say and my emotions, which can lead to me reacting to things in ways that can offend people. I didn't think this would cause issues until she revealed the name of her baby. So we're all done dinner. We are looking at my sister as she announces her baby will be named Brooklyn Willow Rose. Insert surname not including for privacy. spell exactly like this when reading aloud. BROOKLEEIGH hyphen Willow. Rose is the middle name. I burst out laughing and said, "You cannot be serious. I am now banned from all family dinners. Is that name really that bad, or am I just a massive asshole?"
I thought you were going to say that she was going to name the kid Beige, and I was like, I know someone from the internet whose kid is named Beige, and I think it's so pretty. That is ghastly. First of all, EEIGH?
Yep.
No, ma'am.
Hyphen Willow. Rose. So Brooklyn Willow. Rose.
Willow. It's like, is it the worst name in the entire face of the planet? No, but...
Also, I think banning somebody from dinner.
Because she laughed.
And you know she's... Obviously, this is her sibling and her parents. You know her.
You know she's autistic.
You know she's autistic. I don't know. I laughed so hard at this one because I was like, Morgan and I bitch about the way people spell their kids' names.
Oh my god. It's like some people think to themselves, this isn't long enough. Let's add every single letter.
Yep.
To sound it out.
The same letter. We're going to do 4 E's this time.
Yep. That's weird. I did tell my sister-in-law did not pick this name. I'm not going to say what it was. Whatever. We sat down. We were at a Chinese restaurant. I'll never forget it. And she was pregnant with her first. And she said what she thought she was going to name her. And I said, "Ma'am, I will call CPS." It wasn't my best moment. No, but she didn't name her kid that.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I was like, you can't do that to that child. I was like, the 2 names she had picked were not even that bad until you put them together. Mm. And I was like, you can't do that. I'm sure that's not why she decided not to, but like.
I'm going to read another one just because I have more than you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't do like 4 at the end. Am I the asshole for not following my stepson's wishes after his mother passed away? My wife died 3 months ago suddenly after 9 years of marriage. I was in charge of her funeral arrangements. We had 1 daughter together, female 8, and her 2 kids from her previous marriage, male 16 and female 14, that I adopted. I had discussed her burial spot with my stepchildren and told them I wanted her buried in my family plot where I intended to be married one day. My stepson said she would have wanted to be married next to his biological father and her previous husband who died 12 years ago. My stepdaughter said she didn't care either way. I didn't want to disagree with my stepson on something like this, so I looked into the cemetery where her previous husband was buried, but found out that there's only 1 adjoining plot next to his grave and no plot adjoining that adjoining plot, meaning that I can't be buried there one day. I told this to my stepson that I can't bear to not one day be laid to rest beside her. I know she loved her previous husband deeply, but she loved me as well. And I've only ever loved her and only ever will. He didn't agree and said she had always hoped to be reunited with her previous husband. We were at complete loggerheads, whatever that means, over this.
Are you from somewhere else?
But in the end, it was my call and I made it. He was so upset with me and still is. He earlier said he needed time to get past this and now says he needs me to apologize. My stepdaughter thinks we shouldn't be having this fight because it doesn't matter what happens to anybody's body once they die. I want to apologize to him, but I don't think I'll mean it. Even now, I think it would have pained my heart so much if I had listened to him. Am I the asshole for not following my stepson's wishes after his mother passed away?
I don't give a fuck what happens with a dead body, so I have a hard time forming an opinion.
Yeah, so I've buried a lot of people in my life. So my questions are, has she already purchased that plot next to her I
feel like you would have mentioned that.
Predeceased husband?
She probably didn't think about it at all.
Probably not, which is mind-blowing to me for somebody who lost a spouse, like, relatively, they don't say their age, but I'm assuming young, if he died 12 years ago. He looked into it, which I think is a step further than most people would have done.
Yep. Realized it wouldn't work.
And they also share a daughter together. So this is another one where I think we need more information, because I would assume he plans on buying plots for anybody who wants them next to them as parents. Your children, her children, are not going to be able to be buried next to her. You've looked into it. There isn't any other plots.
And you adopted these kids.
Yeah.
They're your kids now.
Yeah, but because their dad died. So
right, but I'm just saying, like,
my guess would be that he plans on buying 5 plots, and probably more than that, because you usually buy for spouses as well. So they can choose down the line whether they want to be buried next to their parents or not. That's not an option for you if you put your mom with her predeceased spouse.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's the asshole.
I don't think so either. But I also just, because of the things you just said, I agree with you. But also, I genuinely don't understand what the big deal is. So I probably would have acted worse.
Like the stepdaughter. And just been like, I don't care.
Yeah, but if it was me, who is the person who has to decide, it probably would have been more upsetting for them, because I'm like, fuck, get over it. It's a dead body. I know that's terrible and mean. So other people think about that differently, but like,
yeah, because obviously him and his
they clearly have very
think
strong feelings about it. I just don't.
So they're 16 and 14, and their dad died 12 years ago, which means their parents were probably only married a couple of years.
Yeah.
And he's been married to her 9.
Yeah, and you were 4 and your sister was 2.
Yeah.
Which, I'm glad you got those few years with your dad. And he loved you, and you loved him, et cetera, so on. We can't discount that, but at the same time.
Yeah, I think the big thing missing here, though, is like, was that her wish?
Right.
Because obviously it's not there.
Okay. This is an interesting one. Am I the asshole for saying you should have thought about that before you procreated? My ex and I have a 13-year-old daughter, Nicole. That's in parentheses. Nicole has severe medical conditions that require a lot of attention. She will need some sort of in-home assistance for the rest of her life. While we have an aide to help a couple days a week, it is still a challenge. The outcome of Nicole's condition became clear when she was 2. At that point, my ex and I agreed we wouldn't have more kids because it wouldn't be fair to anyone. There'd be no way we could focus attention on 2 kids. Someone would lose out in this situation. We divorced when Nicole was 5. We originally had 50-50 custody. 3 years later, my ex remarried. His new wife, Callie, is nice. My ex did say that she didn't understand the severity of Nicole's condition. I figured there was going to be a learning curve. Eventually, Callie basically said she wanted to be hands-off, which I respected, though I wondered how it would work considering Nicole lives with them half the time. Last year, my ex and Callie had a baby. I was a little surprised given my ex was always firm on not having more kids, but figured it wasn't any of my business. He did begin to complain that it was a lot of work juggling Nicole and the baby. I sympathized, but really didn't know what else to say. Recently, the venting got worse. He said Callie yelled at him for taking Nicole to her physical therapy appointment instead of helping her with the baby. He brought up potentially having Nicole stay with me more. I wasn't entirely shocked, but it pissed me off. I said Nicole was his daughter. He can't just abandon that responsibility. He asked what he was supposed to do about the baby. I said, maybe you should have thought of that before you procreated. I mean, really, we discussed this 10 years ago as to why it'd be hard to juggle 2 kids. Why did you think having another baby would be a good idea? He got quiet and said Callie wanted to have a baby. I said that isn't enough of a reason, and maybe he should have thought harder before bringing more life into this world. The conversation ended with me saying I'd call my lawyer and we could arrange for him to have less custody, as I'd rather have my daughter be properly cared for than be viewed as a burden. Callie called me that night very upset that I had made my ex cry and that I had said her baby shouldn't exist. I said that's not what I said completely, more that they didn't think it through. She called me a jerk. Am I the asshole?
I don't think she's the asshole because I think she has absolutely nothing to do with this scenario.
I think Callie's the asshole.
Okay.
You married a man with a child with special needs. You knew that was happening. You married him anyway. And then you went, I don't ever want to help you with that kid. We can just pretend she doesn't exist. And I'll just
that's not what she's saying.
I mean,
they still take her 50-50.
But she said she wants to be hands off.
Yeah, but that could mean so many different things to so many different people. I think that there are many, many, many people out there who have children with very severe special needs who also have other children and make it work. So, like, figure it out. I don't know if Callie wants to have less of a role in Nicole's life, then she takes on more of the burden with the baby. And you go about your life. I think everybody in this situation is just kind of like throwing their hands up in the air and being like, I don't know. And that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. It was... It's a weird situation for me. I just think more care should have been...
Right, and I also understand why, now that it's 50-50, why he thought he could handle a second kid. Like, that would make sense to me. If he was 100% of the time with Nicole, it would make sense for them to not have any more children if they don't think they have any more to give. But now that he's 50-50, he has more to give. So it makes sense that he thought he'd be all right. And also, it sucks because it's a whole human being. But, like, people are allowed to make decisions and then be like, oh, I bit off more than I could chew.
Yeah.
But, like, you still have to figure it out. And
you do. And I feel like he and his new wife need to work it out amongst themselves, because he is in fact still the kid's father, and you shouldn't get less custody just because now you have more like, you're still that kid's dad.
Yeah, this is a hard one because I don't think the poster has anything to do with any of it.
Not really.
Am I the asshole for not deleting photos of my ex? I, 29 male, am currently dating a girl, B is what we're calling her, I guess, 26 female. 2 years ago, I broke up with my ex, C, ending an 8-year relationship from college. We shared a lot of memories together, had a good relationship, both families had accepted us, and we were expecting to marry soon. In the end, things didn't work out, as issues in our relationship deepened, and I came out of this incredibly hurt and saddened. I learned a lot from this relationship and have no regrets. It took me over a year to recover enough to begin dating again, where I have now met B. I, however, still keep all of my photos and videos of my ex. I admit I didn't handle this the best with B, as I wanted to move on and mentioned C as little as possible. One day, B saw pictures of C on my phone and wanted me to delete it. I said that you are free to see and browse all of the pictures and videos I have, but I do not want to delete them. The reason is that it's a part of my life that happened, a part of me. We have had heated arguments over this where B feels I have not been true and open to her and is angry at my refusal to delete the pictures. Am I the asshole to keep photos and videos of my ex after an 8-year-long relationship?
I agree with this dude, 100%.
I doubt every single photo and video was literally just of this one human being. He's probably in a lot of them.
Yeah.
So, like, you want him to delete everything he's done for the last 8 years?
I think that acknowledging that was a beautiful time in your life and, like, being ready to move on is great. I don't think you have to delete your past in order to move on. I think it's... And you might want to just revisit memory lane. Like, we have social media and phones and to, like, look back on all this stuff. And, like, our parents wish they had that.
Yeah.
To, like, oh my God, I remember her. I dated her for so long. She was so nice. This is why I do this. This is where this tradition came from, or whatever. You don't have to tell your kids that if you don't want to, but, like, I just don't think it's fair to expect that.
Yeah, and, like, they're obviously...
Like, the nudes are gone. Please calm down.
Yeah, they're obviously not, like, married with kids, but I just think, like, if Tyler and I were to get divorced tomorrow, I'm not going to delete every picture of myself and my children that has him in it. Because that's weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. You ready to get fired up?
Yep.
Am I the asshole for making my daughter leave because my husband is attracted to her? I, 55 female, have been married to my husband and my daughter's stepdad, 63 male, for 4 years. My 23-year-old daughter and I have a complicated relationship. She has been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. She has a lot of trauma from watching me and my husband's horrible marriage go down and was bullied in school. When she told me she was being bullied by peers, my view that all children are innocent really tied my hands because I told her that if I said anything to them, I would be an adult harassing a child. She has blamed me for that ever since and keeps referring to this one time where the kids at school called her trash due to the fact that she wasn't taking care of her hygiene due to depression. Part, not all, of my response was telling her to take a shower, and I bought her new clothes. The bullying finally ended with an expulsion and a suspension for the ringleaders. She still throws the fact that the school clinic volunteer told her that if she was their kid, she'd have permission to punch back if administrators didn't do anything. I thought that having her live with me while she finishes school and gets a job would help heal some childhood wounds if my second husband and I modeled a very healthy relationship. However, my daughter now doesn't get along with my husband. She is a very introverted, creative person who likes immersing herself in escapism. So she'd get annoyed if she was sitting eating alone and my husband would sit across from her and eat, saying that she ate later so she could eat alone. However, my husband started acting distant from me, and my daughter complained that his eyes lingered for too long. She got very angry, and there was a lot of shouting and slamming of doors. Finally, my husband admitted that he's attracted to her and it's hard to be around her all day. Said she was walking temptation and said that's why he was avoiding sex with me. I was so upset to hear this. I don't blame my daughter for this, but at the same time, the situation has become unbearable. Something would have to give, and I couldn't collect my thoughts with both of them still being in the house. So I gave my daughter money to stay at an extended stay hotel and asked her to utilize the college's emergency financial and housing resources they have for students in need. She responded by storming out and telling my ex, who is now circling social media using it to paint me as the villain of all villains. I'm not abandoning my daughter. She qualifies for those resources anyway, since my ex is unemployed and we are in substantial debt. I just need time to process the situation and don't want to leave my house to stay with my daughter when I have a marriage to figure out whether or not to save.
Bye, Daddy. That's gross.
Never speak to your mother again.
No.
First of all, I read some comments, and the fact that this girl has dissociative identity disorder, they were like, you literally can't get that from watching people fight. She's been traumatized.
Yeah.
Like traumatized before the age of 6 or maybe it was 9, before the age of 9 or something like that. Like, this woman is a terrible human being. My daughter's getting bullied. Oh, I can't say anything about it. It would be mean to the children.
Yeah. Yeah, she's bad.
She's a terrible, bad, awful lady.
Bad lady.
That's all I've got for that one.
And your husband's disgusting.
And your husband is disgusting.
Am I the asshole for refusing to pee sitting down when my girlfriend asked me to? Recently, me, male 24, and my girlfriend, female 23, moved into a new place together. Everything about living together and the living situation has been great, except when we got into an argument for a few days ago about something which I find quite bizarre. She pulled me aside as I was getting ready for bed a few days ago and had a conversation with me, telling me that I needed to stop peeing standing up. She told me it was gross and that she didn't want to be stepping all over my waist when she went into the bathroom. Keep in mind, we live in a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom studio apartment. Now, yes, I wholeheartedly sympathize with women who have had to deal with asshole men who act like slobs in the bathroom. And I would understand my girlfriend, except I did none of this. No urine got on the seat, floor, or anywhere near it. No smell remains in the bathroom. I always leave the lid down to flush for hygiene purposes. I told her this, but she has refused to listen out and has told me multiple times she doesn't want me peeing standing up and thinks it's gross. Now, really, this is my home too. We are splitting the rent and all of the bills, and I think I have every right to piss standing up in my own home and think that her request is ridiculous. Am I the asshole?
If you legitimately haven't gotten pee anywhere and she's just got a weird thing, you're not the asshole because it is your house. However,
clearly this girl is traumatized.
Maybe. I don't know. Or she stepped in your fucking piss and she's sick of it. Because that has happened to me so many times.
That's weird.
And I'm like, Get it together or sit your ass down.
Yeah, that's a weird one to me. I have never in my life been in a situation like that. Even my children very rarely miss the toilet.
It was a child.
Yeah.
At the time. But I'm like, you double digits, dude.
Yeah.
Aim or sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gross. I don't want to do it. But again, if she's just like, shut the door. What's she going to do?
Yeah.
Be like, I can tell from the sound of the pee hitting the water that you're standing in there.
From the sounds of it to me, she clearly has some past shit that has happened to her. And she's just taking it out on the wrong person.
Yeah.
It's pee standing out, my man. Live free.
Piss in the wind.
All right, I lied. We're going to do this dog one because I want to know your opinion.
Okay.
It's short. Am I the asshole for choosing my dog over my brother's wedding? I, 24 male, have a brother, 27 male, who got married last week. And I unfortunately had to cancel last minute because my dog ran out into the street and got hit by a bike. He is now fine, but at the time I had to rush him to the vet and he was in very rough shape. The doctor told me that he will need supervision for the next week because he has a slight concussion. And this happened 3 days before the wedding, which was a no-pet wedding. My brother made it very clear that this was a no-pet event, and I even told him the situation, and he wouldn't budge. So I told him that I had to cancel, and that I would not be attending or in the wedding due to the fact that I needed to take care of my dog. A few days went by, and my family is now very upset at me because I didn't show up, and that I should have just gotten a dog sitter. But I didn't want to trust a random person or someone I know with this much responsibility because my dog is one of the few things that helped me through COVID. Am I the asshole for not attending or participating in my brother's wedding to take care of my dog?
I don't think you're an asshole, but I do think it's a shitty situation. I think it sucks either way on whichever end, like you were supposed to be in that wedding. But like some people are diehard for their pets.
I think he's an asshole.
Yeah.
I think it's a slight concussion. His leg wasn't falling off.
If the dog was in critical condition, for sure stay home.
And most vets, you could have called them and been like, I have a wedding. I need somebody for 3 hours. Be in it. Don't stay for the reception if you don't want to. Be in the ceremony and then go pick your dog up.
Yeah.
I'm
come around to you a little bit.
I would not be surprised if your brother holds a grudge for a long time.
Yeah, his wife's never going to like you.
Yeah.
His wife's never going to like you. Yep. Well, if you've made it this far,
let us know who you think is the asshole.
It's probably us.
It's probably us.
It's probably us.
You'll probably disagree with us every time. It's fine. We're used to it.
Tell us about it in the comments.
Like, subscribe.
Share with all your friends.
Comment. Tell us if you hate us.
Please love us.
All content is good content.
At least love me. She can take it, I can't. Don't forget you can always find us wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. If you want to watch our cute little faces while we react to each other, find our YouTube.
And we will see you next Tuesday.
Bunch of bitches.